Geordie Journo's back here at the Brandlin Arms in Gosforth, where, Jordan, thankfully you're joined by people this time. You did a great job last Friday, but this Friday, I mean, we've sort of debriefed the press conference. There wasn't too much to get our teeth into, and I mean, I watched it from the comfort of my own home, and I was like, what's there to talk about? But Jordan, what did you think?
Well, that's no. Sorry, no. I was going to say that is a hospital pass because there wasn't much to talk about. We're probably not going to talk about what happened in the press conference. You're just going to do a brief summary, aren't you? And then we're going to move on to something that actually we can talk about passionately. So don't turn off.
Well saved, Lee.
No, to be fair, I'm imagining you watching the press conference trying to think of the lines you would have in your head if you were working a day.
There was very little.
There was very little. I've done a couple of lines and I'm struggling for a third this afternoon. But anyway, Gordon, Isak will be assessed. We'll play tomorrow, let's be honest. I'll be shocked if it didn't. Callum Wilson, as I think we touched upon this last week, Callum Wilson's still injured.
No, he's not.
Does it even matter?
Eddie Howe said there's no injury.
Does it even matter anymore? I don't even think about it.
And
it doesn't even matter that Callum Wilson isn't available. I've forgotten about him. I hope he's a nice surprise when he comes back. He's definitely a forgotten man, yeah. Well, he's not forgotten because everyone gets passionate about it, but I think even everybody's gone past the passion of being angered by Callum Wilson being injured because it's just, shrugs the shoulders.
I mean, one player we didn't get on, I'm going all over the place here, on Wednesday, Willis Wheeler came on and made a good impact, so shout out to him. I think people will be pleasantly surprised or satisfied with what he offered.
I think he did,
as an option.
And again, it's another one that I just urge people. I see the social media brigade getting really excited about it all. Just settle down. The lad is still a young lad.
I've tried to inject some positivity.
No, but the lad is a young lad. He came on, did really well.
You always say right. Judge what you see. Right? And on Wednesday night, I thought Willis would have half an hour was good, and that's fine to say.
He did.
Come on.
You're not having my energy,
no,
are you?
I'm not.
Took in a bit. You're
right. Sorry, I've fallen off the screen.
No. All I'm meaning is, like, I just don't want people thinking he's suddenly Callum Wilson. We'd have need Wilson now. He's still a third choice striker who's young, hungry. I love his attitude when he comes on. Like, he might not, even in the games where he hasn't really had a kick, he comes on and just gives a flow of energy. It isn't always in the right directions. It isn't always the right kind of energy. But I like to see the enthusiasm from the lad. To me, he looks like a lad who needs to be playing games, which kind of flies in the face of the position that he's got in the squad at the moment, but he isn't really getting them. I think he probably could have done with games elsewhere, like a championship loan or something like that. Yeah. But the squad makeup and dynamic hasn't allowed for that. But no, that's all I'm saying is I see a lot of social media excitement. I think a lot of it comes from people who aren't at games or don't watch Newcastle United. I think they just build up on the social media
clips.
Yeah, the bandwagon on certain things, and it almost builds false realities for certain players.
But is there anyone you want to mention?
Well, we're talking about this off air, obviously. No, I don't think I do want to mention because I do think there's a false narrative with a lot of players at Newcastle United at the moment, and I just don't think when I know a lot of people who go to Newcastle United and watch games and go there, have had season tickets for as long as my lifetime, and aren't seeing the same things that a lot of social media is saying on certain players, and essentially doesn't tally with what we see as well, but take criticism for pointing things out. Kraft being one, excellent. He had an excellent game the other day, but he's a fill-in man. So Tino Livramento is the heir to the throne, Kieran Trippier's throne. However, I wouldn't play him on Saturday because I think Kraft deserves to keep his place. However, he can never be seen as any more than a fill-in man. That's what he is.
No, I agree.
Sandro Tonali is not performing at the level that social media is suggesting. There's absolutely no denying that. Like,
his game on Wednesday was his best game.
It was his best game. However, he still wasn't the best player in Newcastle United's team by some distance, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Or midfield, according to some.
Yes,
according to me.
Yeah.
I've took some flack on Twitter by a certain individual who was arguing with me at the early hours of Thursday morning where I thought Sean Longstaff had a better game, and I'm pretty sure there's people watching this will disagree.
Yeah,
and that's fine. But
so the Sean Longstaff is, I think, could this be the title for a video that we're going off on this tangent? Could this be
we've been all over the place.
No,
so
no,
far,
I was going to say that Sean Longstaff could be the biggest victim of this idea that social media builds things up.
Yeah.
So the lad is a good, honest pro. He's not a world beater. He'll be the first to admit he's not a world beater. I know he's not a world beater. However, when I watched the lad perform, the function that he did in a position that he knows like the back of his hand the other day, he was outstanding. Yeah. Outstanding to doing the job that he's required to do in the position. Has he got as good a touch? Has he got as good pass? Has he got as... I was going to say passing range. We're not seeing that from Tonali. Has he got certain elements of his game? No, he hasn't. It's not even close, actually. Tonali's a much better player. However, watching the game the other day, he was quality. Tonali was very good as well. However,
they're both.
However, I don't think it's warranted. I've seen national newspapers which they've got their own agendas. They've got
Tonali's the story.
He's the click. He's the one that hooks in. That fans, again, it's this whole social media noise rather than the actual reality. It hooks people in saying, "Wow, I want him to do well." And we all do. We all want him to do well. But it's almost like it's just a false. It's a belief. And it's something that's sort of a feeling rather than the actual reality. And the reality is the bloke is getting better and better and better as he plays. However, he's still not at the level that I think most people, even probably Eddie Howe, expected him to be. If he was, Eddie Howe would have been playing week in, week out. So I think that kind of, on social media, I think it's the perception versus reality. Perception versus reality. Sean Longstaff's never as bad as social media tells you. Sandro Tonali's probably never as good as social media tells you. And again, we're having that. It's a bit of fun with Kraft this week, but it's building up this false narrative where people who don't watch the team. I don't want anybody thinking suddenly like he's the heir to the throne. He isn't. Tino Livramento is the heir to the throne. However, he's had such a up and down season that I would keep Kraft in because he's come in and he's been Mr. Reliable. When Livramento, a young lad who's still learning his game, he's only really in his
21.
Yeah, he's only 21, so he's
played less than 50 Premier League games, I think.
Right, well there you are.
Starts.
Yeah, Premier League starts, so he's still a young lad learning his game, and I think it's just important to divorce the two. The reality is often slightly altered from the perception that social media gives. This isn't saying any of you guys, it might not be anybody on this watching this channel watching this, but I do think there's a big difference between perception and reality, and I think Tonali fits in the middle of that. Longstaff has for a long time fitted in the middle of that. Dan Burns probably fitted into that for a time, although I think that's closer to the line. I think with Dan Burn, he always gets lumped with Longstaff. I don't necessarily think they're the same. I think Dan Burn, his whole career, has operated as a player at the bottom end of the Premier League and in lower divisions, and I think he plays like that a lot of the time. So it's not really a perception thing with him. It's just probably isn't at the required levels you'd want for a team fighting at the top of the division. And when you have players like that in positions, particularly when it's been quite fragmented in terms of confidence, results, performances, that kind of gets found out a little bit.
Yeah.
You've got to have a really organised, tight, fit system. The system's failed a little bit this season at times, and the individuals come under focus then, and the individuals start making mistakes, start getting found out in positions they shouldn't be. Dan Burns probably been a little bit of that. And now, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on the idea of perception versus reality?
I think we contribute to that, obviously.
I think we do. I think the media,
social media, player ratings,
absolutely.
These videos even.
Absolutely.
People will be watching these and they haven't necessarily seen Eddie Howe's press conference or seen certain games.
But I'd like to say, I think where there hasn't been a ball kicked, I don't think, under Eddie Howe, that one of us three hasn't been watching. We all sit and work like this, but one of us would have been watching every kick of this team under Eddie Howe.
Which is a privileged position.
It is very privileged.
There'll be not a lot of people on social media who will have done all that.
I mean, there might be, and there probably is.
There will be, but some of the people who are very vocal or particularly vocal may not have even watched the game.
And this isn't even a thing saying, "Oh, I know more than you because I watch more." It's not even that. It's not what's being said. It's just we're watching with almost a critical friends, I would say.
We try to analyse.
Critical friends, how would I describe us as journalists? That we want the team to do well because it's in our heart. However, we also watch it with a critical eye and trying to analyse.
And slightly although we'll fan slightly dispassionately as well,
You have
because
to
we're
a little.
working,
Yeah.
because we're looking at it and trying to be as objective as possible. Whereas we know whenever you're in the stands, any pass, any kick, you're like,
It is,
come
yeah.
on,
Yeah, yeah.
it's brilliant or it's terrible.
Yes,
There's
yeah.
not a lot of nuance to it.
Yeah,
when you're in
maybe,
the
I
stands.
suppose actually, so maybe you've got to the root of the problem. Maybe that's what, it's not a problem, but maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
That we have to at times take that step back. There isn't really a requirement of a fan to take a step back. You don't need to take a step back. You can literally nail your colours to a mast on a player and it literally doesn't make any difference. Whereas we have to be a little bit more objective and sort of you feel it and see it at the time, but then you step back, you watch it again, you analyse it, you look at what everyone else is doing, what the manager's saying, and you kind of come to an all-round view that probably fits in the middle of where the reality and the perception is. Or am I just talking crap?
I don't know. It's a bit of like an essay subject, this.
It is,
We've just turned the camera on and just went.
Well, we said that, didn't we? The press conference was so uninspiring in terms of like, not it's no fault of Eddie Howe. It's not a problem. It just was uninspiring in terms of lines. There's no big injury news. There's no big talking points. They played on Wednesday. You only spoke to them the other day, so there wasn't a lot.
Yeah, it was like the midfield stuff that we spoke after on our video after the Chelsea game was almost sort of revisited today. So we couldn't come on here today and talk about what we already talked about on Wednesday of Joel being a left wing or whatever, the midfield three, which was sort of the theme of the press conference today, where you were almost trying to work out what Eddie Howe would do, and Eddie Howe in typical fashion give absolutely nothing away. So
I found it a bit interesting just watching the live stream, almost like from a fan perspective, and I do sort of sympathise with the fan frustrations more, where it's like, why are people not asking this? And like when you're in that situation in the press conference, you feel that semblance of control, but when you're watching it through a telly and you don't have that control, you see, I get why people have that sense of frustration.
Are you thinking of questions?
Yeah, because I'm like, right.
What would you have asked today, though? Without putting you on the spot.
That puts me on the spot.
So one thing I was
what I would have asked Jordan, Jake Murphy okay?
Yeah.
Is my target okay?
I don't know it.
Yeah, man. Jamal Lascelles, the bloke's been captain for 10 years. Nobody's asked about him.
No, no. I
feel a bit harsh.
I'm a big.
He doesn't
Jamal.
get a team.
If you had
obviously.
a follow-up today, what would you have asked Eddie Howe?
So my follow-up was asked about Joe Linton play on the right after half, and he go and play on the right, which
I think he should.
do you think Joe play on the right?
And Eddie Howe
He's coming
mentioned
for your opinions.
It's come for you, man.
Come for me.
But yeah, Eddie Howe acknowledged Joe Linton playing on the right, and he'll play wherever, and he'll do a job, and that's sort of a welcome quality of a player. You just play wherever you want, and he'll put in 100%.
That's a solution for me. Rotate Gordon and Joe Linton. So if Gordon isn't getting involved on the right hand side, move to the left. We've been over this on Wednesday. That's the front three. I think those two, and then Isaac in the middle.
I think Eddie Howe slowly but surely, I won't say stumbling because he made bold changes on Wednesday night, but we're seeing signs, green shoots as you put it, of him finding potentially his best team, or a team that works and is more sustainable. Because that's one criticism we've had of Newcastle this season. As much as there's been some positive signs, and there was definitely a lot, I think it was Newcastle's probably best performance of the season on Wednesday night, it has been a bit up and down. Well, it's been very up and down. So for every 1 or 2 steps forward, there's always been a regression or a step back. And I think on Wednesday night we've seen a lot of positive signs that Newcastle, there is some element of potential sustainability there, which I think the week or the game before at Chelsea, if Eddie Howe persisted with that team, it would have been not a disaster waiting to happen, but it wouldn't have been. It just wasn't a sustainable team.
Well, it depends what he does. Depends if suddenly, and I think I'll point to a couple of changes. If he suddenly goes back to the same midfield three. If he suddenly says, right, well, no, actually, I think they can all work together, Joe Linton, Tonali and Bruno.
He did say that before the Chelsea game as well, on the one on Wednesday, when he gave a lot of praise to the midfield, but then rotated it. And it feels like now he's rotated it, you've came across a better midfield.
It worked against
Willock was in it, and none of us would put Willock in the midfield on Saturday, would they?
Probably not. Not in 2 games in 4 days. I think that midfield worked against Everton. It'll work against teams where you're going to have a lot of the ball against the Arsenals, against the Chelsea. I don't think it works as well. It falls apart. I think that's why you need players like Sean Longstaff to facilitate the higher quality unlockers in Sandro Tonali and Bruno.
Being out wide, it suits players like Joe in games like this where opposition teams come on you and don't sit in. Teams who sit in, I think they have a problem with the likes of Joe Linton in particular in games like that where you have a lot of the ball because he doesn't actually have a massive amount of quality with the ball. He's kind of explosive, isn't he? He's big, strong. He'll burst into gaps. He'll win the ball back, but actually, is he going to stand on the ball and is he going to see a runner and find a ball and he just hasn't got it in his locker really, and that's now to do with him.
He done that against Tottenham when he spun through Madison.
But there was gaps aside.
There was.
It wasn't like,
and it was really poor defending by Spurs for Murphy to go through. But I think that's probably the one of the few times I've actually seen Joe Linton be able to spin away from someone and play a ball through. He's capable of doing that.
That was all very Joe Linton, wasn't it? It was the explosion, getting away from spinning, getting away from somebody, and then driving on. I'm meaning like with two banks of like 5 in front of you. Is he really going to be able to split between 4 players? Like maybe it looks like Tonali's got that in his ability, hasn't shown it. Kieran Trippier can do it. Bruno can do it. There isn't really many others in the team who can do that. No, I was going to say all of those green shoots are based on the team that he selected on Wednesday, and I think, like I say, I think Kraft's almost a stick and plaster on that right hand side, while Livramento is having such an up and down time for a young lad. So he's the stick and plaster. I don't really see that as one of the green shoots, but I see it as a short term fix. It's the centre half that for me is one of the major ones, and I think playing Lloyd Kelly, who didn't have a perfect game the other day but showed enough to me. Niffy probably first 10 minutes, didn't he? Maybe he's on the ball. Then give it away a couple of times. But he showed to me he looks more like the type of centre half that they were trying to sign in the summer. Because I've talked a lot about Mark Gay being quite comfortable, being pulled 40 yards out from his natural position, being comfortable on the ball, and also being comfortable if the ball gets played over the top to be able to cover. I think Kelly shows to an extent having all of those, ticking a lot of those boxes. Like I say, I'm not certain he's the answer to any of Newcastle United's problems, but his mobility for me makes him a much better bet. You lose the height of Dan Burn, which height's a big thing. However, I think they need to rethink their set pieces, as you asked him the other week. They need to rethink their set pieces, because even with Burn, they don't score set pieces. They don't actually have a natural header of the ball in the team, like somebody who is going to rise above people, attack the ball and get on the end of it. The only player I would say in the squad is Jamal Lascelles. The only one who's a natural header of the ball. You go back, it's nearly 10 years now, but you go back, you used to have 2 centre halves in Kieran Clark and Jamal Lascelles, and they'd both chip in 4 or 5 goals in the season because they'd be attacking every set piece. It's not always on the quality of the delivery, it's also about the intent of the player. Andy Carroll, one of the best headers of the ball I've ever seen. Still to this day can barely walk playing in the French 4th division. Headers, he's on the end of everything, because it's about instinct, nature, aggression, want to get onto the ball. You've got to have a bit of that. I don't really think he mentioned Sven Botman the other week. Botman doesn't have that. You can see the way he is at set pieces. Dan Burn definitely doesn't have that. Dan Burn wins headers because of his size, not because of his intent to get onto it. He never attacks the ball. It's always just lob it up to Burn and he'll win it, and then it's the second ball that they're hoping to score from, really. So I think they've probably got to rethink that a little bit. I can't remember what I've
Are you not putting that down as a set piece goal in midweek with the short free kick from Lewis Hall?
It was for me, but it wasn't a clean set piece header type, where like a traditional set piece, the type of set piece goals that are Arsenal's bread and butter.
No, but I think it was. It was more, but I'll tell you what, it was more by accident than design. The right kind of accident. It was actually quick thinking by Lewis Hall and Isak, who noticed that Nkunku had fallen asleep and 2 or 3 others, and he wandered out. He burst out there and had 25 yards of space. So it was actually quick thinking from 2 players on the cuff rather than any kind of organised plan. So I'm not really going to put that in the box of Tyndall and whoever. What was the bloke's name?
Kieran Taylor.
Kieran Taylor.
I'm
not going to put that in there. They can have it as a set piece goal, but it really wasn't done by design. No. It was more quick thinking off the cuff. And I don't think it was a set piece goal. I'm actually fine with that. if you're quick thinking and you're sharp and you're on it, that's really positive.
Yeah.
They've created something out of nothing, and that's what you want from set pieces.
A bit of innovation in it.
It's the type of thing when you have these stops and lulls in games, all it takes is one player out of the opposition 11 to switch off for a millisecond, and as long as you're on it, you'll find a yard like that. I think it was really positive play, and if they do that 3 times on Saturday and score 3 goals, I'll certainly not be complaining.
Wow.
However, I don't think they can do the Arsenal way, where Arsenal are really direct with their deliveries into the box, quality deliveries, set pieces and score, and they're the best in the business. It's quite archaic. There isn't anything. There is a lot of technicalities to how they get those positions. I'm surprised, having seen Arsenal do it numerous times, that nobody's worked out how to defend against it, because
they know what they're going to do.
You know what they're going to do. They're almost going to hit that little corridor, which is the other side. From where the corner is, the other side of the penalty, the 6-yard box, and somebody's going to be arriving. I mean, is it just so perfect, the delivery, that it's not quite what the keeper can get, and there's enough people blocking it? Is it? It's clever, obviously, what they do, but it's basic, really. In many ways, it's get it in the right areas stuff, and somebody will get on the end of it.
It'll be a tough afternoon for Nick Pope.
A lot of pressure on him after
he's been targeted.
Recent games.
I was about to say that they said on midweek that he was being targeted by Chelsea, even the game before that as well. He's being targeted. So,
but I'm saying
he flapped it quite a lot in midweek. Pope.
It's not one we've seen from any other manager, but Maresca's quite clearly seen something in Pope's game, or maybe it might be the strengths that he thinks Chelsea have got. I don't know, but if it is, he's seen something in Pope's game. He thinks he isn't going.
Do you think Pope was prepared for it though? Because he just seemed to keep punching everything, which I thought was really odd.
I didn't mind the punching, Jordan. I've seen a lot of comments about it. I didn't mind the punching.
No, but it's
safety first for me. If it goes clear, it doesn't matter where it goes.
It doesn't like breed confidence. Is the only thing I would say. Just being able, because there was times when he could have caught it and he just punched it.
There was.
And I do wonder if he knew he was being targeted by a certain point and just thought, as you mentioned there, safety first.
I think he was hoping for fouls. He went down a few times as well, but under the pressure, and he wasn't getting much given. I don't think the referee was very good, but there wasn't much given. I don't know. Maybe he is being targeted. I think it's more my concerns with Nick Pope more, or that I don't think he gets down like he did before. He's made some fantastic saves this season. He can't deny.
Makes himself big, but
makes himself very big,
which is a big quality in a goalkeeper. But you do think, we've said before, is that shoulder injury?
It was the other one though. The Palmer goal was the other side. It made no sense. It wasn't the side that he damaged. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of where he was. It was the other side.
The Fulham goal you go back to, which is probably his one big error this season, where it was just he couldn't. Has
he dived through his left of the season? I can't analyse every Nick Pope save.
Well, it's impossible to know.
But I remember there was that reel at the start of the season when he pulled out that save against Wolves in the last minute, and there was other saves that they'd pulled out, and all of them on his right side.
Yeah,
that's where the shot went. So how can I criticise him?
I mean, it's possibly a weakness. Is it something people in football know about, don't know about? I don't know. Martin Dubravka has it. These statisticians, analysts, they all pulled out Martin Dubravka doesn't dive to this point in the goal. I wouldn't know. I honestly don't analyse things that much, but it was quite interesting to see. Maybe most goalkeepers have a weakness. You're a keeper. You'll be more comfortable.
I can't tell you because he might start shooting the other way in 5 or 7.
That's what I'm looking for.
I do have a preferred site to dive on.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how to walk a door means everything to me. I can't tell you how to score past this.
Through Jordan's legs, that's the key.
Right, that's the one that I had a shot at idea with that one, but the ball was wet.
That's what you're sticking to.
Yeah.
Halloween spooky ball.
It was exactly what it was.
Anyway. But we're going to talk about one player who I haven't even spoke about him so far, and I think he's been, and we might be in agreement here, Newcastle's best player this season.
He's my player of the season, without doubt, and you probably all know who we're talking about.
Player of the month for October.
Yeah, Lewis Hall. Very, very different trajectory to Tino Livramento. You couldn't have even said they were on the same path this time last season. And Livramento was coming in.
Played left back in Champions League, Livramento.
Yeah, Hall looked.
Ahead of Hall.
Hall in the position looked. I think it's fair to say looked out of his depth at the start of last season. Was hauled off at half time probably a record number of times of what I've seen.
For his first 5 games,
I've
he
seen
was
the
hauled off
player,
at half time.
and it was painful to watch, and it was hard. It was really difficult for us to watch.
Eddie Howe questioned his fitness as well.
He did.
Which, as a 19-year-old, must be quite
Bournemouth,
hard.
it was after Bournemouth.
Sure, I really respect the player. I think he's shown a tremendous
mental strength,
tremendous amount of character for a young lad. Yes, he was a Newcastle fan because of his dad and all that kind of stuff, but he's been pulled out of his comfort zone. He's been at Chelsea since he was a kid. He knew what he was going to get there, thrown into the deep end at Newcastle United, into Champions League football, and having to £28 million or £25 million around his shoulders, and to face the adversity that he has. In, like I say, Howe was not shy in hooting him when he felt that it was the best for the team, and also, like you said, questioned certain things about his game and his fitness. To have come through all of that and puffed his shoulders out, puffed his chest out. Can't puff your shoulder out, can you? Puffed his chest out, and performed like he has this season. Again, he's warm into the position. He's not perfect. He's clearly not perfect. He looks like a lad who still needs to learn the role a little bit. Still parts of it. Not the role. Is almost learn the game in that position. So I think you've mentioned it before about the 60-minute thing. You think there's like a mental
fatigue almost. Yeah, and I think he's got the fitness levels to work on. Just for the first time in his career, playing week in, week out, Premier League top level football, 90 minutes, can he do it? And he's still getting up to that level, but then also from a focus point of view, where I think, while I do think Lewis Hall has been Newcastle's best player so far this season, he's always had, maybe even in games when he's been one of the best players on the pitch, being an 8, 9 out of 10, he's had that one moment, and it's always came like later in the games. And I think there was a case the other night where 60-minute mark hit, he has 5 minutes where it's just a bit all over the place, and then he comes off. But for 60 minutes, he was brilliant. And it's just one of those things. As a young lad, you get to learn the game, get to improve, and I think that's one thing. As fans, as journalists, you're really welcome. It's seeing a player who's showing the right attitude to get better, to improve, who's overcome a difficult period. And there was a point in last season where I think I asked Eddie Howe in a press conference, and you could probably go back and watch it. Eddie Howe didn't even know if Lewis Hall was staying at the club. Like what he said was, "We'll have to get back to you on that," even though there was an obligation to buy because of the nature. It was performance related clause that would be triggered, and ultimately got triggered, and it was fine. But there was a degree of uncertainty over Lewis Hall's future for a period in last season, but he's overcome that and made the left back position his own and become a really important player for Newcastle, and one where it's like the Livramento thing. It's you're looking and you viewing him as a player for the future for the next 5-10 years.
Livramento's going through those same sort of struggles that Hall had, not to the same extent I would say, but he's having a little dip this season, and it'll not do him any harm to go through this and come out the back end because he's a good footballer.
Does that not come back to the perception of reality though, where it's like Lewis Hall, it was so obvious because he's out of the team, whereas Tino Livramento, because in and out, people don't really think that he's struggling, when realistically probably
Tino Livramento
is, because even though Livramento was coming into the team, he's not putting the performances in. Whereas Hall, it was so obvious because he was taken out of the team. It's like he's struggling. Whether I think there isn't really a conversation around Tino Livramento and his up and down performances.
Hall was making quite. It's easy to say now. He was making very, and I think I said them at the time. He was making very basic defensive errors. Very basic ones.
Yeah, the one in Dortmund sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. But it was just general awareness and body position and watching balls go over his head. Where people are, like it was quite obvious that it was like that lad needs a lot of coaching.
It looks like a lad who's just come straight from the academy and just played Premier League. Not far off, really. Yeah.
I mean, he only played
5 or 6
He literally only played a
Chelsea.
handful of Premier League games, and he was lauded by a football club's fans who were literally served absolute dearth of quality at that time. And he came in, and you could see he's got the right attitude. There's no doubt about it. Came in, showed the right attitude. There's actually quality on the ball, as we've always been able to see. Yeah. So people seen those flashes and thought, well, I want to keep Lewis Hall because he's better than anything I've seen. That we've just paid 60 million quid for him, and Lewis Hall's better. So, no, a lot to like. I like both players. I like both on each side. Kind of one thing I didn't address before, which I was going to say, we'll talk about go back to the green shoots. So the green shoots thing for me, the centre half, does he bring does he bring Dan Burn back in the team? Because he mentioned to you guys today about certain players not being able to play potentially.
Yeah,
2 games in a week.
He said all
Kelly hasn't played much.
He said
Hall struggles.
Yeah, he said it's a big ask to get players to play 3 games. He said it's not impossible, but it's a big ask. But then does that not include Tonali as well? Tonali's played 3 games this week.
He looks fit as anything to me.
2 games this week.
Nothing. I think in terms of the squad, like you look at him and Joe Linton, they look like they run all day.
But then
Pair of them.
Howe alluded to it after the Chelsea game where Tonali's substitution was booed at game management, and managing minutes. He comes off after 65 minutes, then plays 90, comes off right at the end, but plays 90 on Wednesday, and then I'd expect Tonali to start on
Gordon's
Saturday.
another one. For me, Gordon looks like he could play 3 games on the bounce, but he's like battery runs so low. Like he has bursts in games, doesn't he? He'll put in an amazing run, then his battery just seems to run out. He has to recharge, then he comes back. He always gets through the 90, doesn't he? And it's like
sounds like me.
I was just going to say.
But like players like Joe, I've got no problems with Joe. Like look at them, Joe Linton, Longstaff, and Tonali. You look at those 3 players, and they literally look like they could play another half hour at the end of games. It doesn't look like a problem to players like that.
Yeah.
Whereas others, like you said, Lewis Hall, it gets to the 60-70 minute mark, you start to look, and the mistakes start to creep in. That's one thing that isn't really talked about enough in terms of athletes is the mental fatigue that goes with the physical. That things do start to, you make decisions, you rush things, you force things towards the end of games that maybe you wouldn't. I think he suffers from that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's something people overlooked with Anthony Gordon in the summer, and I think we've touched upon it previously in the video. People go, Anthony Gordon, well, he barely played in the summer, but he was training every day. He's working away every day with England.
Focused.
If we're doing a job, or if anyone's doing a job, you're still doing, whether you're actually out at games, for example, reporting, or just working through the week, you're still at work. And Anthony Gordon basically had very little time off, so he's coming back and then has basically 2 weeks or 1 game to get up to speed for the Premier League season, and we're finally starting to see Anthony Gordon getting back to full tilt, I'd say.
It's like me this week. Been off for 5 days and never had a mental switch off.
Shocking. I mean, yeah, we've made 2 videos. We've both been off.
We'll love it. We'll love it, really, though. We'll love it.
Yeah, this is our passion.
We need a little holiday, me and you, Dom. Where should we go?
What freebies you want to get this?
Greece.
This is...
How many minutes is that? So we've done 33 minutes. Is there anything we majorly need to address that we haven't talked about so far?
Do you want to go to what we said but wouldn't, and just name our teams for tomorrow?
Well, I only said we wouldn't do this because I don't think there's much debate.
No.
In our opinions, that doesn't mean that. I think
there'll be debate amongst viewers and supporters, because I think a lot of questions and a lot of food for thought was, as we said in our previous video.
So he's going to play the 4-3-3, so why don't we do it this way? Why, instead of coming to you and then me and then Walt saying probably similar-ish things, why don't we just go through it and like we'll say it like in intervals, like keeper, and then we'll all say it, and then right back we'll all say it, and then we can
John Ruddy deserves a chance.
Yeah, fair enough. Odysseus. Right, keeper 3-2-1. Paul.
Yeah.
Right back 3-2-1.
Craft. Ooh.
Right, so there's the first talking point. Why Livermento? Because we've discussed.
I know, I've just said he's been struggling.
Yeah. I think Howe will do that, by the way.
Yeah. Because I think Team Livermento was a better player.
Yeah.
And I agree. I totally agree with your point. Is I think Emil Kraft has been more dependable, but Livermento was just a better player.
Right.
Emil Kraft's a better defender at this moment in time, and I think Newcastle will need defenders who keep things in check. And we've seen against Chelsea last weekend, Tino Livramento, while he wasn't at fault for Chelsea's first goal, as such, he drags Fabian Schär out and gets him, who lacks a bit of pace, to overcome it. And I think Emil Kraft's just, at this moment in time, just a bit more solid defensively, which is what Newcastle will need against Arsenal.
I think Livramento's not a bad sub either. That'll be my other thing.
Yeah.
Right, we know where we're going with the teams. I don't really need to say it. Right, so the next one, 3-2-1. Schär. 3-2-1. Kelly.
But I think you'll play Burn.
I agree. I think he will play Burn, and that's where I would have issues with it. I don't think that's the right way forward. But I think I would go Kelly. We're all going to say Hall. There's no point in even talking about that. That's fair, isn't it?
Yeah.
Matt Target.
No, he can't.
I don't know where he is.
Burn.
Kelly Burn.
You never know. It's not out of all realms of possibility.
No,
he puts Kelly left back and plays Burn in the middle.
There's always
Hall's played back-to-back games. I mean, he might need a rest.
Yeah.
Right, so the midfield's maybe
an interesting one.
Right, so I'll go right side of midfield.
Well, it depends. You could just name your three.
Do you want to do that then?
Yeah, because you.
Well, go on, just quickly name me all three then.
Longstaff, Tonali, Bruno.
No. I'm going to go Tonali, Bruno, Willock for that left-hand side partnership, which comes on to just trying to be different.
You don't have to be different.
I think
I see a lot of value in Longstaff, and as I say, I love him. I've been very, very praised of him this week, but I just think that left-hand side, Joe against his former club.
Keep the link.
Yeah, keep the link up. I really like it. But
but
what I would always caveat the fact that as well, Willock did play in midweek. There's that fitness side of things. Yeah. Arsenal, are you going to get that space to really get at them? I think it all falls in that. But that, as I say, I waxed lyric as well the left hand side, and I think I would like to see that again this weekend. But honestly, if Sean Longstaff's on that team, she's brilliant because I think he does a lot for the team, or does all the dirty work very much overlooked.
So I'm going to come back to you straight away, but mine's Longstaff, Bruno, Tonali. That's my three. You've obviously hinted by saying you put Willock in. We know what your front three is going to be. In what order as well?
Joe Linton on the left.
Yeah.
Isaac through the middle, and then Gordon on the right hand side. The only reason that probably falls flat, if you like, is if you have to or want to try and move Anthony Gordon over the left. Does Joe Willock and Anthony Gordon have that same link up?
Yeah, so
I don't know. I'm thinking from here. I think maybe he's playing Longstaff's probably a safer bet, to be honest. I might a slight U-turn there, but
yeah, I think the Willock thing is purely down to not purely down to fitness. Is a large part of it is fitness. I don't think, given how long he's been out, which Eddie Howe addressed in his press conference, 2 games in the space of 4 days starting is probably too much for him. And I think it goes back to your Livermental point. He's a good substitute to bring on. I'd play Gordon on the left because that's his most effective position. He's Newcastle's most, or definitely along with Isak, Newcastle's most effective player in the final third, or most influential. Joe Linton, I want Joe Linton on the right to work because that would answer so many questions for Newcastle.
I don't think it's a natural fit, to be honest, but it's if there's anybody going to be able to do it to any degree, it's probably them, isn't it?
Newcastle's problem area. How many times you go, well, Jacob Murphy potentially injured anyway, Miguel Almiron's your other option, or you're playing a Anthony Gordon or Harvey Barnes who don't really want to be in that position if they had their choice. And Joe Linton, as Eddie Howe said today, is happy to play anywhere and will give 100% for the team. And he played it for a spell at right wing back against Chelsea very briefly on Wednesday.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he went on the right and then Gordon. I think what you do get though with Gordon and Joe Linton, you can swap them every so often depending on how the game's going. So I'd like to see that, but I'd start with Gordon on the left, Joe Linton on the right, and then obviously Isak through them.
For me, I love Joe Linton on the left. I think it's his best position, but I also think Anthony Gordon has done enough to deserve to that's his spot really. If he's fit, he plays left wing for me, and that's where it comes in. Like, I think that's the front three. That's the best 3 forwards I think that Newcastle United have, and it's just the one that can probably move. Who doesn't? You'd imagine Joe Linton loses less of his game than Anthony Gordon does by moving out to the right. Gordon is quite clearly now, having seen him play on the right a few times, he's very obviously a left forward. There isn't any doubt about that. You lose so much of Anthony Gordon by moving him onto the right. Joe Linton, the drop off has potential to be less because he probably doesn't ever give you the heights of Gordon. So you'd imagine he probably doesn't. He's such a solid player and performer, he probably doesn't drop to the levels on the right. But there's no reason really when you look at his game why Anthony Gordon shouldn't be able to play on the right hand side. No. He should be able to go both ways.
Eddie Howe said he signed him as both a right wing and a left winger, but that's the hardest conundrum weighing up, isn't it? It's like,
at the moment,
because the better balance is Anthony Gordon on the right, but you lose so much of Anthony Gordon by playing on the right hand side. It's almost like you have to sacrifice him.
Which
isn't fair because he deserves to be on the left hand side, but the better balance for me is Joe Linton on the left.
But then, like you said, you lose that Joe Linton. That's his home, isn't it? That left flank, like
but as an inverted winger, which Joe Linton effectively is
playing.
It's
Gordon's better.
Yeah. So in terms of actual threat to the goal, there's no comparison.
There isn't.
Made there.
No.
Let's. I tell you what. Right, let's just play 2 left wingers, right? We'll put Emil Kraft in.
He'll do
the job.
He'll deal with the right hand side, right? Don't worry about that.
He will.
Martinelli, whatever. Who's the left back? I don't know at the minute. Arsenal's left back.
Timber, yeah, probably.
There you go. That's it sorted.
He'd be fine.
So I'm gonna change my team.
No, you
2 left wingers.
2 left wingers. He's like up front.
Look, Isak can drift out there too. Let's just bombard him.
3 left wingers.
Isak will do a defensive job. Like.
Yeah, I'm putting Miggy on the right. Right. Right, I think we've probably been all around the houses. I want to make sure to mention 4 of us, Financial Planning.
Yes.
Proud sponsors of all Geordie Journo's videos. We've been talking a little bit. I think did you answer the question? There was somebody suggesting, please get a membership scheme.
It was me.
Was it you? Was it?
It was from Don Henderson.
Who amazingly dropped some cash in the bank,
£20,
and said, "Why aren't you doing memberships?" I'm gonna be honest. It is something that Geordie Journos we are exploring.
We spoke about it earlier on the year, and it sort of fell by the wayside.
We've got where behind the scenes there's little plans being put in place. So if you would be interested, do keep an eye out for that. It may not be till the new year, given how busy we are until then, but we'll see how things pan out over the next few weeks in particular, with work and everything else. So, but it might be something we explore. But in the meantime, you can still like, comment, share, subscribe, click the thanks button if you do feel like you want to give any donations to us. Do come for a drink at the usually busy Brandlin Arms. Of course, this is timestamped as recorded at about 10:30 in the morning in the private room upstairs. So kindly donated by the Brandlin.
This is booked. We have to be out soon because it's booked for function.
Is it really?
Yeah. So
good choice, whoever booked this.
We're not used to getting booted out of venues, are we?
No. We've got a new sandwich menu on, so I'll promote that as well.
Okay, what's on it?
Very good. Well, there's a steak sandwich, which is good.
Yeah.
There's a fish goujon sandwich. There's fried chicken wrap, which I've had all 3.
It'll be your street, that.
Oh yeah, chicken.
I've had all 3. Very good. There's a chicken and avocado and bacon. And now you're asking me, maybe a halloumi one. Now these are the ones I haven't tried.
You just making ones up on the menu now. We're going to have to add them. The Geordie Journo special, the halloumi and avocado. That's not even on there.
I'm sure you had that spoons a couple of weeks ago.
I did actually, I did. Hey, John, Mama went to be high end. Mama don't eat in spoons.
No.
All the time.
No, Tonali eats there, so...
literally that one as well.
Yeah. The Tonali, that's what it's called there.
The job Tonali.
Yeah. Sandro Bullman. Right. Shall we go?
Aye. That's gone.
So
got work to do. You, Stephen Hardy.
Yeah. Next time we see you,
we can stay out. We can have a pint of the brand.
Nice, gone.
We could. Yeah.
You don't seem too keen, man.
I do that much.
We could.
Have a pint, lads. Have one on me.
Have a pint.
Have one on me. Please.
I couldn't. You live 2 minutes from here, though. I've got the car.
I've got the car too.
Have you?
I'm being at home. I've come straight from the walk at home last night.
Yeah, I forgot.
Stopped out for Halloween.
Yeah, you did. Dirty stop out. Right, let's go.
Yes.
What can I do?
Like, comment, share, subscribe. You've already hit those.
We'll leave that bit in, by the way. We're not cutting that.
That's fine.
No, but we'll be back as a trio at St James's Park tomorrow, dissecting what will hopefully be another positive step in the right direction for Newcastle United against Arsenal. See you then.